Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, one and all, to yet another episode of WhickTV, a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. First of all, thank you to my Twitch viewers, Jenny Burns, 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙𝖘𝖍𝖔𝖜, Testy Johnson, all of you, you're great. Welcome, welcome. This is going to be a panel, mostly from the right wing, right? And we're going to have a more kind of right-leaning perspective today. So if you are interested in exploring the minds of the right wing, today's your day. To my Kick viewers, we have, first of all, I'm getting feedback. Someone's hot micing. Yeah, can you please mute yourself? Thank you. So to my Kick viewers, Krieger and also Jenny, thanks for showing up. Right. And thanks for the sub on Kick. We have enabled subscriptions on Kick, so you can pay me there if you'd like to. Hopefully it works. I was able to click the button and set it up, but you never know. Until I get my money, I don't even know if it works. And last but not least, YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to super chat as we go. And with that, let's get into it. Today, we're going to be talking about the upcoming 2024 race and who should be the presidential nominee for the Republican Party. The two options that we have so far are Trump and DeSantis. That's shaping up to be the big contest. My question is, which of these candidates do Republicans or right-leaning people want to see secure the nomination, and why? And that's what we're going to be talking about. So I've gathered together a mix of Trump supporters and DeSantis supporters and some neutral people to kind of discuss this. And I'd like to take a moment to introduce them. So first and foremost, we have Aircraft Sparky. Hello.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Aircraft Sparky. I am a constitutionalist, populist, conservative. I do shit memes, and I do show on Mondays and Wednesdays on YouTube, Twitch, and Rumble. Yeah, there you go. Too easy.
Hey, Trump or DeSantis?
I'm gonna be side with Trump for this one. And reasons will come out here in a little bit. Or are we doing opening statements now?
No. Reasons will be fine. This will be a good start, right? Next up, no stranger to my show, Admiral Gibbs, please.
Howdy, everybody. How y'all doing? I'm Admiral Gibbs. I'm a gamer and a little political streamer here. And yeah, I'm going DeSantis.
Okay. Allison.
Hi, I'm Allison. I don't stream or anything. I'm just a random from Wix Discord. But yeah, I'm supporting DeSantis over Trump.
Okay. Well, we'll see how this goes. Lactoid. Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me all right?
Yep, you're fine.
Great. Yeah, I'm Lactoid. You can find me at LactoidTV, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. I think that, we've kind of come to a point here where there are some critical reasons why the Democrats need to be defeated. And I think the best person to do that in a general election will be DeSantis. So I don't think Trump is the best option at this point.
Okay. Well, we'll see how it goes. First time guest on my show, Todd. Hello.
Hey, what's going on, Mike?
Oh, just we can hear you.
All right, beautiful.
Yeah. Are you a Trump guy, DeSantis guy? What you got?
I am a Trump guy. I've been a Trump guy since 2016, since the escalator, and I'm staying with Trump. And I think I've laid out some good reasons as to why, and we'll get into that. So thanks for having me.
Okay, no, thanks for being here. I'm really excited to see how it goes. Another first-time guest on my show, Crambo. Hello.
Hi there. I'm just your average Midwestern rural male. I call myself classically liberal. I'm a big fan of the founders. I like the Constitution quite a bit. And I am for Trump, although I will attempt to assert the position that I don't think this is a mutually exclusive question.
Interesting. That'll be an interesting angle. I guess we'll see how it goes. And with that, yeah, let's get into the reasons why. So those of you who support Trump, given that he was beaten already by Biden in 2020, right? what is it about him that you're sticking with? Why should he be the presumptive nominee for the 2024 Republican Party? What do you think? Tell me on this.
He's not Biden. Biden's already proven to the world what he can and cannot do, like walk on and off stage, complete sentences. It was a bad decision to elect him. America is starting to see that, and there you go. I mean, look, if Biden actually decides to run, all this is going to be thrown into the public's face. There's not going to be enough for the media to cover up on it. He's going to have to actually campaign this time. He doesn't have COVID to hide behind anymore.
Sure, but why Trump over DeSantis? Why is Trump the person to beat Biden? I guess is
because I don't like fascist.
Firstly, Trump is the technical incumbent. He was the last Republican president. He's the leader of the Republican Party. Secondly, he has experience in the role of president. We all can say things that we liked about Trump and things that we didn't like about Trump, and he did make mistakes in office. However, if we put him back in, he'll be able to profit from those mistakes. I think he very much has learned his lesson from the kinds of people that he's kept around him the last time around, judging from the things that he's said about his last term and what he thinks that he would like to do better. And I think that we as a nation could profit from that experience in a way that DeSantis wouldn't quite. He's been governor of Florida for a while now, but federal executive experience is different from state experience.
Okay. And Todd, what about you? Why Trump over DeSantis? Like, why are you Team Trump?
Well, I'm Team Trump for one because I'm loyal, unlike DeSantis, who would not have been there without Trump. And just everything, like I'm a little bit of a protectionist too, so I have no problem with tariffs. The one problem I had with Trump was when he talked about due process and taking away guns, and maybe some things on the budget, but and maybe COVID. But I mean, I don't know what we're allowed to talk about on Twitch, so I won't get into too much about that. But yeah, so I'm just more of a loyal Trump supporter. Of course, the 2020 election was the most freest and fairest election ever, because again, we're on Twitch. And yeah, so I just want to see like best out of 2 out of 3. You know what I mean? Run it back again. I don't think Biden's going to be the nominee, but again, I said Michelle Obama in 2020. I was wrong there, so I'm gonna put that. I think Newsom or Michelle Obama. So really, it's just a loyalty thing. And I got some things that I'll get into. I don't want to take too much air out of football, but is anyone familiar with Ken Griffin, the Republican George Soros? Okay, so in November of 2022, Ken Griffin started coming out, and basically he wants to get back to just the old Republican wars for oil and stuff like that. And I'm not really Republican. The only reason why I mess with a registered GOP is because of Trump. So, you know what I mean? I voted for DeSantis and Trump are the only 2 Republicans I've ever voted for. So, and now with DeSantis' disloyalty, I'm not going to be supporting him. And again, yeah, governing a state and running the country is a little different. So really, it's just loyalty. I'm kind of loyal to a fault. So
fair enough. Okay. Well, DeSantis guys and girls in this case, what about DeSantis tickles your fancy? Why DeSantis over Trump? Like what about DeSantis? Given the fact that Trump seems to be leading in the polls right now, right? Like DeSantis is behind. What would you say to Republican voters to change that? Like, yeah, how would you convince them that DeSantis is your guy?
I'd appeal to competence. I think that DeSantis is more like immediately competent than Trump. And yes, Trump has experience in the presidency, whereas DeSantis doesn't. But he was a federal legislator for 6 years. Okay, he was in Congress, and then he was the successful executive of the state. Like he won his second election in a landslide. He won his first election by 0.4%, and he won his second one by 19.4%. So just like he can win an election. Like Lactoid said it earlier, but I think he's the general election candidate.
I'm going to piggyback off what she said. Basically, on top of that, he also served in the United States Navy, from 2004 to 2019. He's a former lieutenant commander. He's got like real world experience. It's not like Trump who's guessing what Kim Jong-un's going to do. He's a real world military commander. He knows what the military is capable. He knows the ins and outs, and not only that, he was in the Navy. The Navy is our biggest, threat multiplier. So these are all things that I think assist him in like, going forward. Now, as compared to like Trump, DeSantis has had measurable like success in pursuing his policies. Like you can look at what DeSantis has said he's going to do, and he's done it. Versus Trump is a populist. He'll say he's going to do one thing and then do another thing. It's a pretty common issue that Trump has overall, in my opinion.
Yeah, I wanted to just add real quick.
Please.
So there's like two elements I think we have to look at when it comes to deciding a candidate, and that's going to be electability, but then also principles, right? Is this person actually a good candidate? Would we be happy if this person won? And when you look at DeSantis, the way he actually has governed Florida, what has he done, right? He has governed Florida incredibly well. Florida has a massive budget surplus because he actually cut state spending and was financially responsible, and now Florida is doing very well financially, right? He does have a solid background. He did serve in the Navy. Unlike Trump, he hasn't really lived this sort of playboy lifestyle, which people are, I guess, are free to do, but it does lead to some issues later on down the line, which is what we're seeing now with a lot of these lawsuits. I don't deny a lot of these lawsuits against Trump are probably bullshit, but DeSantis simply isn't vulnerable to them in the same way that Trump is. I think DeSantis appeals a lot more to independence, and he has proven that he can win. I mean, for God's sakes, the man flipped Miami, right? The urban area, a majority minority urban area in Florida, he flipped to red, right? That is an incredibly impressive thing, and I think it's something that he doesn't get a lot of credit for. I think that Trump is just very risky, and the biggest wins of Trump were just simply his court picks, his court nominations, which DeSantis would be doing anyway because all of those court picks are nominated, or I guess recommended by the Federalist Society to begin with. So I just don't see a lot of benefits that come with having Trump go again. I think that he's very popular amongst the Republican Party, but that's kind of about it.
Fair enough. Now, Sparky, you mentioned that you don't support fascists. You don't support DeSantis because you don't support fascists. Can you elaborate?
Yes.
A little bit?
Well, it's very simple. He's doing the exact same thing that Joseph Biden is doing to Donald Trump with the DOJ by weaponizing the government against his political opponents. He's doing so against Disney, although I do like the results that are happening. I don't like using the weight of the government in order to accomplish it. He is called an all-out war against his political opponents and is legislating and enacting executive orders in order to get these things done. No, that is total authoritarian. And let's be honest, yes, he served in the Navy, but it's mediocre at best. He received his rank of lieutenant commander while in the reserves, which is basically just sit in a spot long enough and you're going to get it type thing. During his active duty career, he could not make it past lieutenant, which is an 03, which, by the way, is a gimme. Everything above 03 and above in the U.S. Navy has to be done through board. And, well, he didn't do so well on boards. So let's not really tout that as, he was such a great. Yes, he got a Bronze Star because he deployed. He was an officer. It's not because he did anything heroic. There's actual people who did heroic shit downrange and actually got turned down for the medal because they were the wrong rank and stuff like that. So I'm not going to sit there and yes, he served in the military. That's great. I'm a vet myself. I like to see people who served, but let's not use that as a qualification. He was a JAG officer. Now he's a JAG officer in the reserves. Oh, cry me a river. He's not even a real military man. So I just can't accept that. But no, if you're going to weaponize the government against your political opponents, and look, I'm not a big fan of Disney. I think that the legislation should have been moving towards getting away that those special permits that they allowed for self-governance and stuff like that. But the only reason why he did it is because they spoke out against his agenda. And this is the kind of shit that we see in authoritative countries. Look, I don't want to live in a banana republic. Joe Biden's getting ready to put on his special uniform with all decorations, and Ron DeSantis would just do the fucking same.
Hold on, didn't you just say all right, bro? Your very first supposition you said here, bro. Let's talk about that. You said you don't want someone that's going to use political office to go after an opponent. Is this not the same Donald Trump that in one of his public, presidential debates with Hillary Clinton said, and I quote, "Oh, because you'll be in jail." Well, isn't that the whole point? Well, that goes to my point about him being a flip-flopper. So, I mean, either way,
he is a flip-flopper.
He said he's going to do it, and he says he's going to use political power to get his opponent, so he was willing to threaten it. And then B, when it came nut up or shut up time, he didn't have the nuts. But that's the guy you want as president.
No, I'd rather have the guy, that have the nuts to walk into North Korea without any type of security whatsoever. Look, that's something that Ron give me a Bronze Star DeSantis, would not do. I mean, he couldn't even join the real military for fuck's sake.
Mm-hmm. No.
Yeah,
no
he collected piss in the military. By the way, he was a urinalysis guy. Sorry,
everyone does urinalysis. That's not that's not the slam you think
were
it
a
is.
piss. You were a piss grabber too, Aircraft.
Everyone gets
Damn,
detailed with
okay.
being a pecker checker, dude.
Oh,
wait.
yeah,
Are you guys really? Hold on. Is the pro-Trump side here talking shit about DeSantis's military experience? Is that what's happening? Because
Sad, yes.
there is a comparison we can make as to the military experience of Trump, right?
Oh, Trump has no military experience.
Why?
Right. So
because he's
got bone spurs.
The bone.
Sure. Yeah. Who wasn't
sure.
trying to get out of Vietnam?
Look, I don't deny people trying to get out of Vietnam.
Bill Clinton,
but
DeSantis
did
the exact same thing. In fact, he moved to Canada to get away from it.
But did DeSantis? I'm
No.
not, great.
He
So
signed
that's
up to the JAG Corps. That's what he did.
So
at least he served.
So he's
He's
served.
Jeb Bush.
He is not Jeb Bush. Come on.
He is exactly Jeb Bush. He's Harvard. He's Harvard educated and everything else.
All right, all the Bushes get a pass for what their daddy did in World War II. He's an American hero. So when it comes to military service, so
yeah, but the Bushes are part of the reason why. And I took some notes. Allie, I wanted to go back with the 2-time winner thing. Yeah, and he would not have won without Trump. So again, we would not be. He was losing to. He was getting killed by Putnam and 30,000 votes. I would directly attribute that to the 3 plays that he did. I mean, the guy cut a commercial with his kids building a wall, and now he's not pro-Trump. So again, it's really just a character flaw to me. Admiral Gibbs, the policy matters. Yeah, I guess he did some things good. I mean, we still have red flag laws in Florida, so I'm not, I'm a Florida resident. And then Lactoid, you said that no deficit. Well, that's in the state constitution. You can't run a deficit, right? You have to balance the budget in Florida. So, and didn't Marco Rubio win Miami as well? I'm pretty sure he did.
DeSantis has led a historic budget surplus that did not exist beforehand.
Right, that's fine. But either way, it's in the state constitution.
That's the difference, though. Is Trump has a lot of fight.
I want to give some space to Allison to respond. She was addressed directly, so I want to give her some space to answer.
Yeah, so that first race where he only pulled it by 0.4% of the vote, like he totally got that by Trump ass kissing, like he just totally did. But the second time where he pulled 19.4% above the Democrat, I feel like things had already soured between him and Trump because it was already like kind of obvious that he was going to make a presidential run, and Trump was already calling him DeSanctimonious and whatnot. So like, I feel like the really impressive election was not the one that he leaned on Trump for, but he definitely did lean on him for the first one. So
yeah, and I'm sorry, I don't mean I'll real quick, and that's what I was coming. So Marco Rubio won by about 19 points in 2022 as well. So I'm saying that it is red now; it's no longer purple. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to help.
Who flipped it red? Right? Who flipped that area?
Not DeSantis.
You don't think DeSantis, who's wildly popular in
I live
Florida?
here. No. Yeah, until he came out against Trump. And no, that was not up until in November. There was no talks of DeSantis running. Let's remember that, right? That wasn't until. Well, maybe there was. Maybe there was.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying DeSantis won because or won Miami and was killing in Florida because he said he was going to run for president. What I'm saying is like he had a lot to do with the fact that Florida is now a solid red state, right?
No,
Florida's been
people
purple.
Moving from California. I live here, so I mean, I'm telling you, even I'm in Palm Beach County. Palm Beach County is a lot more red. I mean, Trump almost won Palm Beach County as well. So you know what I mean? What I'm trying to tell you is the state is becoming more red. It's not a referendum on DeSantis or DeSantis doing anything great.
Well, okay, but no, you have to actually be generous. We have to be somewhat objective here. Look, Ron DeSantis did actually increase popularity of more conservative thinking in Florida. The reason why he was reelected is because one, he promised to remain as governor for his entire term, and two, he brought results during his first term, which were actually very good. It is only during his second term where he has actually decided that he was going to go through and weaponize the government against those who opposed him. And look, that's we can actually sit there and go, yes, Ron DeSantis has done good things. I can even say that. I say in his second term he's gotten a little bit authoritative for me. But look, if that's
What are you calling
people,
weaponizing the government, though? Because, like, are you saying, like, when Greg Abbott, for example, sends troops down to the border, is that weaponizing the government?
no, because he's actually trying to protect the sovereignty of his state.
So you're just saying he's weaponizing the government for what exactly?
He is weaponizing the government against his political opponents by enacting
Like who?
executive, like Disney right now.
Disney's a political opponent.
Yes, because Disney spoke out against his against the Parental Rights and Education Act, which I thought was a wonderful piece of legislation. But because of that, he has targeted them with the power of the state government against that corporation because they spoke out against it.
And you're trying to say Trump didn't do any of that?
Please
The deal that
tell me
Disney
where
had
it did
with
happen.
Trudeau was, like, pretty sweet, though. Can we admit that? Like, it was pretty wild. They basically got to operate like the Vatican, like their own government.
and that was installed by the legislative body, and it was the legislative body that actually has to retract that, not the executive. Okay, there are certain things that have to be done a specific way. He's not doing that. He is bypassing that.
I mean,
Yeah, but-
like,
but
what about
the
the
Florida's-
investigation into Biden in Ukraine when he was in charge?
I
Like,
want
was that not a
to
thing?
hold on. Crambo's trying to get in. I want to give him space. He doesn't have a camera, so harder for him to get in. So Crambo, say what you want to say.
They did, though. That's the thing. The Florida State Legislature did dissolve Reedy Creek and create a new district because they were displeased with the way that Disney was running things, because they had promised to build an entire city in that area and they hadn't done it in 60 plus years. The thing is that DeSantis marched into the Florida State Legislature and made a case and called a vote. He didn't do this through executive orders. There were executive orders done, but that didn't involve the dissolving of Reedy Creek.
No. See, he didn't dissolve Reedy Creek through executive orders, but what he did is he actually suspended all powers of Reedy Creek through executive fiat until the legislative branch stood in and did something. And that's where the problem is.
I mean, Trump literally had the IRS investigate political opponents. Like, he had somebody testify that against, like, so everything you're saying is just unequivocal.
I mean, I don't really see why it's a problem when we consider the fact that the reason why DeSantis was doing this is because Disney was trying to pull shady things at the last moment by trying to, transfer all of the powers to Disney Corporation from Reedy Creek at the last minute, which were things that were overturned in the courts later. That's why
Hasn't he been
powers.
outmaneuvered by this too, though? I'm just trying to Hasn't Disney won? Sorry, my watch is going.
No,
they haven't won.
they're not going to either.
Yeah, there's a lot of lawyers. It depends on how you look at the cases that are going on, depending on what they say. But there's a lot of scholars that are saying ultimately Disney will end up losing this, but it's going to be a long, drawn-out battle.
If DeSantis does win quickly, if something happens, right, where DeSantis is able to pull off this victory, would this change your mind? Would this up his esteem in your minds, the Trump supporters here, to the Trump supporters? Would you reconsider him as your potential nominee if he is able to pass that really quickly, or get through this legal battle really quickly and have a victory against Disney?
Well, it honestly, it's not about the legal victory or law or potential loss. It's about what he has done. It is how he has enacted all these things that bothers me, frankly. When it comes down to it, if you look at what Joe Biden has done by weaponizing the DOJ, by going after Trump for the same thing that, by the way, Joe Biden is guilty of 1,000 times over, because as a senator and vice president who has no declassification powers, has taken classified documents and held them in unsecured areas, to include the garage of where his crack addicted son lived in for several years. Yeah, that's a great example right there. If we can see this happening with DeSantis, why would I expect that to change when he got into the White House? Because Joe Biden is doing that right now. Of course, no one cares because Orange Man bad.
Can I respond to that one?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So I think that I've been following the Disney case pretty closely, actually, and I've been listening to a lot of legal scholars talk about it. And I think that, like, the thing with Disney was long overdue. I've heard from many sources that The Florida legislature was talking about getting rid of Reedy Creek over and over again. Universal approached them not long ago, maybe 5 years or so ago, and they were looking for a special district that would be much the same as the Disney deal, and they were shot down by the Florida legislature because of they regretted what had happened with Disney. They were going to get rid of it. I agree that their speech was the catalyst, but I mean the fact of the matter is that what the Disney Corporation was doing was they had gone into the state legislature of Florida, and they had essentially lied to them. Walt was being honest, but after he died, the corporation completely disregarded all of his promises to Florida. I think that it's like completely within the right of the state legislature to revoke powers that were given to Disney on false promises.
It is completely within the right of the legislature,
how you
and that has been my argument from the get-go. It is how Ron DeSantis started it through executive fiat. He immediately stripped power from Reedy Creek and things like that through executive order, and then had legislature come in and then correct his mistake. Okay, that is where I have an issue. It is.
I understand. I don't want to get
I don't
caught.
think it was a mistake, but I was going to move on.
Yeah, I don't want to get caught in the Disney trap here, right? Like,
yeah,
there's so many other things that we got to talk about.
My answer is real quick. No, I'm not ever going back to DeSantis. Okay. Even if he is the nominee, I'm not voting for him. So loyalty
to
is
be clear,
to me.
If Trump isn't the nominee, you will not vote.
I will write
DeSantis.
In Donald Trump. I'll write in Donald Duck. I'll write in something else. I will not, because loyalty is that big. If you're going to sell out the guy who got you in there, what are you going to do to your constituents?
Is there anything Trump could do that would lose your vote? That if Trump said something or did something, or
yeah, he almost came close with the due process thing, because I'm a big gun guy. Guns are like my number one issue. So when he started talking about bump stocks and we'll just take away due process, that was kind of like, yo, pump the brakes. But I mean, compare, like, short of, can you give me an example? I don't want to
say he gets arrested for the issues he's having legally with the classified documents and things, saying
still writing him in. He could have an ankle bracelet.
For this.
Yeah, he could be in jail, and I'll write him in.
Let me jump on that little tidbit. This is what's crazy to me. Let me tell you the biggest thing about the Trump DeSantis, and really the kind of schism that we have in the Republican Party right now between the Trump and the DeSantis, or the Trump and the traditional conservatives kind of group. This is the one that gets me. Is this willingness for Trump supporters to just blatantly disregard any possible thing that happened to some sort of wild government deep state conspiracy theory or Q or something along these lines. But the minute you sit here and bring up that, hey, maybe Trump's not such a good guy, he was hanging out on Pedo Island with Epstein or something, they're like, that's a conspiracy by Soros to discredit Trump.
Well,
and
he wasn't there.
Do you mind if I
absolutely right. He was on one flight to Teeter, bro. So just be correct.
I'm just saying this. Oh, here we go.
If he went to the island, if he went to the island,
there's nothing you can say.
If he went to the island, I wouldn't vote for him.
It doesn't matter.
There you go. But I'm not voting for DeSantis. So either way, I'm not voting for the disloyal guy.
He could be on the flight with Hitler, Saddam
No, I just said, don't
the devil
do that.
himself. You'd be like, he was there for 5 minutes.
If he went to the island, I would not be voting for him. But again, in 2015, he's the one who shined the light on that. And if you ask Brad Edwards, one of the lawyers for one of the things, right, okay. So again, he was one of the guys who volunteered that information. But yes, had he went to Epstein Island 32 times, it would be a non-issue. I wouldn't vote for him. I do have morals.
You keep talking about loyalty along with that, though. And here's the thing. Trump's not loyal at all. If someone goes against him or just wants to go do their own thing, he goes after him. Here's another thing. If you want to talk about loyalty, what about people inspiring loyalty? How come is it that so many of Trump's people, the minute they're done with Trump, give him the stab in the back? Why is that? That's not very loyalty inspiring. I know a lot of leaders that have people leave to go do different things, and they don't have their former employees giving them the shank. So which
ones do you want to? Which ones you want to go to Mike Pence, who on January 2nd knew he wasn't going to do what he said he was going to do on January? What do you want? Name the guy, and I'll go each one by one and explain it, maybe. But again, no matter what explaining I'm going to do, you don't care because you're never.
How is going?
I'm not trying to sell you on that.
How is running for president disloyal if you think you can do a better job?
Because he would not be, again, let's go back to 2018. The guy would have lost to crackhead Gillum. Literally, Brenda Snipes, hold on, let's go back to Brenda Snipes in 2018, finding ballots and Trump's DOJ shutting that down. Because again, if you look that up, she had found like 10. They were going to pull. I mean, of course, obviously, elections are fair and free, and I'm trying to keep on TOS here. But they were trying to pull the find and balloting. Brenda Snipes is the Fort Lauderdale election supervisor who was fired, right, eventually by DeSantis. So again, he wouldn't be here. We'd be talking about Governor Gillum right now if not for Trump. That's the problem. Dude, you know what he should have done? He should have just sat back, supported Trump, and he would have been a shoo-in in 2028. Again, I'm not even going to get into the Bush crowd thing. He had Jeb Bush at his thing. I'm never going to vote for a Bushy. Never. Sorry.
I don't deny. I don't deny like that Trump definitely helped a lot of candidates get into office, but I'm having a difficult time seeing how that's disloyal, right? Just so if somebody campaigns for you or somebody helps you win your office, like plenty of people did for Trump as well, like they owe them a personal favor now. They owe to the point where you can't even run for president.
Let me explain it to you.
I think
if you're campaigning
just
for
real
me,
quick, just stop real quick. As soon as you're done explaining, Crambo's trying to get in on this too. So
go ahead, he can get in, and I'll come back to it because it's I don't want to take all the air out of football. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Crambo.
So something was said earlier that was pretty interesting about Trump supporters, and I can definitely see where that's coming from. You're certainly referring to a group of people that exist, right? About how a lot of people like to sort of get caught up in the moment and say things about how there's this broad conspiracy against Trump and people buy into the Q nonsense. And there is a lot of that, yeah. But the fact of the matter is that these people are diehard Trump loyalists, right? And there are a lot of them. In fact, there are so many of them that Trump is currently head of the polls of DeSantis. The Never Trump wing of the party is, in fact, the minority party. That's just the case, right? We all know this. This is why I wanted to come and advance this position to say that I don't think this is a binary choice. I think that Trump can be the nominee, and that's fine. But we have to recognize that with Trump and DeSantis' combined support, you've got a massive base there. These people could go in on a ticket together, unify the party, completely avoid a schism.
You're shaking your head. You're shaking your head. I want to hear why. From Ali and then from Lactoid.
Trump would never let that happen. That just would never happen. He needed a whole wet towel of a person like Mike Pence, who was never going to be any kind of threat to his popularity ever. He could not stand to have DeSantis as a VP on his ticket.
What do you mean by threat to his popularity? Isn't a second term if he gets elected? What's there to threaten?
I think Trump is very. I think he's shown himself to be quite narcissistic, and I think he cares a lot about what people think of him, even if he's not about to run for president again.
I agree with you. I do think he's narcissistic. However, I think that Trump is an older man. And I think that once you get to his age, you start to realize that doing the Playboy billionaire lifestyle thing, as was mentioned earlier, only gets you to a certain point, right? You start to think about your legacy, which is why Trump wanted to do things like philanthropy. He wanted to do things like run for president. I think that Trump's narcissism is being channeled into something productive here, actually, in that he wants to be remembered in history as being a good president. That's something that none of his rivals in business have. It's something that none of his rivals in entertainment have. If people 100 years from now look back on Donald Trump and say he was, a kind man, a very wealthy man, and he did good for the country, I think that's the ultimate ego stroke, and I think that's what he's going for. So if it'll make his name look shinier in the history books, I think he doesn't particularly care if, DeSantis steals the limelight in the moment. His legacy of picking DeSantis as a good VP and as a potential successor to the presidency in the future could be the final cherry on his ego.
Hey, Lactoid, give it a go.
I mean, I would just echo look, there's good things you can say about the man. He does have a hell of an ego. I just don't see him wanting to share. He would never be vice president. I don't think he'd ever accept that.
No,
I also don't even know if he would accept that kind of arrangement, in the sense of, you have this person, the meatball Ron, who challenged me. This motherfucker tried to run against me. Now I'm going to let him onto my ticket? No way. Fuck that guy. I could absolutely see him thinking that way.
Well, he did do that with Perry. He did let Perry on.
Yeah, he did this in 2016. Plenty of people who ran against him were given positions in the administration.
The better question is,
I just don't see it happening, though.
would
tell
you
you why
want
we
Ron
got
DeSantis as a VP candidate at all? Because I look at it like this, and I think the loyalty argument, I think that's cringe as fuck. You should not be loyal to any politician. That's just ridiculous because they sure as hell ain't loyal to you. And you know, Trump can have all of his little sayings. You know, look, they're after you. I'm just getting in their way and things like that. But the reality is, he's a politician. You can't trust him as far as you can spit him. At least I can sit there and be honest enough with that. One thing, the only reason why I would support Trump over DeSantis is I've actually seen the policies, the foreign policies of Trump. I realize how the world was while Trump was in the executive office. I understood how I got to see how the rest of the world saw America, and now America is a laughing stock, and now we're paying billions upon billions of dollars in a foreign war that we have no reason to be into, one of which Ron DeSantis actually supports our work in. And no, if it's something that has nothing to do with us, we shouldn't be throwing money at it. And these are, I can understand. Look, you can dislike Trump, you can be anti-Trump all you want, but you should be looking out for in a presidential candidate who is going to be looking out for the American people's interest in mind. And right now, I see two candidates. One that wants to, right now, he's talking about he wants to invoke Schedule F, which will get rid of a lot of the bureaucrats that have bloated our government. So that's something I could support. And then you have Vivek Ramaswamy, who is mirroring the same type of things. In fact, I think Trump would do better with a Vivek as a VP candidate than Ron DeSantis.
I'll tell you one more reason that it's never going to happen is that I as a establishment conservative, you know, like I'm like tied in like with the establishment, right? Like we like our people. It's the same
You're a
reason that
Bush guy.
well, I'm a Bush guy. Yeah, it's the same reason Agent 47 over here is saying, you know, I'm not a Bushy. I was like, I am a Bushy. Those guys are the ones that supported DeSantis starting out. We're all over here like going, okay, these are the conservative Republicans. These guys have helped us out for a long time. And Trump's over here a populist. He go whichever way, you know, the crowd goes. You know, that's kind of a scary thing to have in power. You know,
But you
just
think
saying.
that the ability to pivot to the base is a good thing?
No, I don't think so. Not when it's like pivot to like just outlandish wild things all the time.
No, wars for oil are good. Wars for oil and you know, killing 1,000,005
I
brown
mean,
people.
I'm
You
just
know?
like, you know, I'm a
No.
like if we're gonna be honest, I'm definitely a nationalist in that respect. So whatever's good for America and you know is good for me. You know, in
So
that
if
sense.
you're a
But you're going with
nationalist,
the
if you're a
globalist
nationalist and a
DeSantis?
We're
Bushy,
taking their oil.
you're not a
That's
nationalist.
good.
You're a globalist cuck.
Yeah,
No, we're
because
taking oil. That's our oil. It's our oil now, bro. I'm
I
from
want
Texas.
you to
You know,
respond to
yeah,
the
bro.
globalist cuck allegations.
I
Can you-
mean, it's not true, so I didn't even think I needed to respond, but that's fine. No,
Okay.
I mean, we're going in there. How are we globalists when we're going in there and whooping Iraq and then taking
Hold
the
on,
oil?
hold on.
Hey,
How
come on.
much what ass whooping have you done overseas, sir?
I haven't done none, but I mean,
Okay.
that's not
Yeah,
my
go
job.
sign up and then
I'm
you
the
can
one
actually advocate for
I mean,
such.
my family's done it. I'm just gonna pull the old you know, Bush thing, and we're gonna say I'm good by default.
Yeah, I'm
And
one of the
this is-
victims. I'm one of the victims of George Bush sending us into wars we had no business going into. So you can
I
fuck
mean,
right off of that.
Every
I'm
war
just
is
not
a
a-
war. Probably the business going into. You want to get down to it. You can argue all war is bad, but
No,
you know,
no, no. Not all war is bad.
it's
Some
good
war
for
is
my bottom
righteous.
line.
Some
I
war is
mean,
actually righteous,
I
but
mean,
no.
if you're like an economic conservative, you think money is righteous and
give
war
me
for money.
give me an example of a righteous war.
A righteous war.
A
When
war
we
of
actually,
national defense.
Taking oil.
yeah, no. Well, like when we went into Afghanistan initially to get Osama bin Laden those first like month that we were there, yes, that was righteous. Once we realized that he was gone, all the
Executing
nation
our
building and
political
everything
agenda,
afterwards
that's
was
a righteous
fucking
war.
cringe as hell, and we lost a lot of Americans for no fucking reason. We went into Iraq based on a fucking lie. But we did know that they did have weapons of mass destruction because we fucking sold them to them in the 70s and 80s while they were warring against Iran. So
Poppy Bush, by the way, Poppy Bush.
Yeah.
I'm just for anybody
Guys,
keeping
hey,
score at home.
We were pivoting to our base, bro. We were pivoting to what interest was best. For
Yeah,
us.
Well, and that's what-
we're pivoting to your base of a bunch of fucking
See, and
cowards
that-
who will
now-
gladly send
Oh.
young men and women to
how
their
you gonna
fucking
talk about
death
cowards
and not
when
do it
Trump did bone
themselves.
spurs?
Fuck right
How you
off,
talk
man.
about- How you can talk about cowards when Trump's over here doing bone spurs?
And this
I
is
You
think
know
where I-
what? Trump
I'd rather
didn't
make money
bring
than
us into any more wars. He actually went towards ending wars. That is something I can respect. But someone who is going to sit there and go, oh, no, we want to go fight for other people's resources, but I'm not going to do it myself.
Why would
Fuck right off.
Why would I do that? I'd much rather make money and like, you know, have my policies implemented that benefit me.
fucking global.
Then you should be
when
anti-war.
you say like moving towards like getting us out, like you can make that argument. He didn't get us out, and in fact, he deployed larger weapons in Afghanistan that had been used before, right? Like the mother of all bombs, right? Like we're dropping incredibly heavy ordnance.
About Trump here?
Yeah, Trump.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Trump.
he would have been out by
he was deploying
May 4th of 2021.
Moab.
That deal was already put
Yeah.
in place, and they were lying about Syria. The troops were literally getting. I forget what the name of the guy was. They were moving around. He'd be like, "Hey, did we get everybody out of Syria?" They're like, "Oh, we just got 50 more guys," which is really 500 or 1,000 guys. So they were literally, his commanders weren't even telling him. Let's not talk about Milley calling China in October, not after the election, prior to the election, and telling them to give him a heads up. I want to circle back to this guy Ken Griffin who runs Sequoia. This Political article was big. And this is a direct quote. While he's supporting one of the biggest cycles culture warriors in Desantis, Griffin has said most hot button issues, abortion, battles over sex education, and LGBT rights, he doesn't want to define. Basically, he wants to stop the populist movement and get Republicans back to this multinational corporate world, dropping bombs on people for oil. And it's just, I'm not going to vote for a globalist. And again, Trump has done some globalist things. Because he's a populist nationalist, right? Putting tariffs on China. So another thing, you can argue whether tariffs work or not. That's a protectionist movement, and something that Desantis, he just came out this week when he was at, I think it was Dominion. He was at one of those lawyers in California. I got articles. I'll post the links in the Discord. And he said he will not impose those tariffs. So, see, so that's an easy pick for me.
That's kind of a problem, you know. It's fine.
Wait,
so you
what
just
did you're doing Russia collusion? You're going to go to Russia collusion now?
There's a lot of evidence. There might have been some kind of Russia thing going on.
No, there's no evidence of that. But I don't want to derail this on a Steele dossier.
But you're sitting here going, no, I think it's a fair thing to ask because, you know, we're sitting here talking about all these things, and you're going to go, oh, we shouldn't look at his Russia ties. He was a lot softer on Russia and a lot harder.
Let's look at him.
Let's look at it. I've read the Mueller report. I have both Horowitz reports.
I mean, not only that, DeSantis is just as harsh on China as Trump is. So, I mean, you don't really even have
minus the tariffs. Again,
no. Look. Okay, DeSantis doesn't have the power to enact the same level of things as Trump did as president. So it's really non-comparable. And no, DeSantis has been strong against foreign adversarial countries such as China by pushing to enact things like foreign land ownership, which, by the way, I believe America needs to get with the times and ban all foreign national land ownership within the confines of America. I am sick and tired of us selling our land to foreign countries.
Okay. Allison, you wanted to get in here a little bit? I don't know if this was a hand raise or what. So.
Yes. Yeah, okay, so there was kind of a little bit of an implication there earlier that DeSantis is just like so excited to get us into a war with Russia, like American boots on the ground to fight for Ukraine. I'm just not seeing it. Like
that statement wasn't made.
It was
that
not
claim
stated,
wasn't made by
but
anyone.
I felt like it was implied.
No. You're putting things where there isn't. My statement was, and precisely, is he is in support of wars we have no thing going into, and that is hearkening over to the Ukraine conflict.
Just real quick, is that a knock on DeSantis for you that he does support funding Ukraine?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait, so you're supposed to be in a he is actually for not aiding Ukraine, not participating in the war. He was for arming Ukraine prior to the war.
Yes.
Okay.
Which he did.
No.
Hold on. So you have somebody who began, right, because before him, Obama was not doing this. He began arming Ukraine with lethal aid, right? He was giving them weapons. And so he's arming and funding the militarization of Ukraine. And then when asked, well, how are you going to end it? He said, I'm just going to sit down and talk to them, and within a couple days, it'll be over. You really think he is like, this is his real policy? You think when he's put forward no actual policy as to how he's going to end that war, and his history shows that he arms Ukraine, you don't think he's going to continue doing that?
So what I would suggest what he would do is Trump was considered a madman on the international stage. Supposedly, and I don't know if this is true, he told Putin that if they were to invade Ukraine, that he would drop bombs on Moscow within the hour, which is quite possible, considering the weapons that we have, where they're located in the world, and everything else. I don't know if he would actually do that. I don't buy that he would end the war in 24 hours, but I guarantee you, Trump is one of those individuals that the world goes, yeah, we're not going to test that. I mean, hate to break it to you, man. That is what it is.
Trump sound like he's like Stone Cold Steve Austin. If you come in my house and you go to Ukraine, we're dropping bombs on you in an hour. Do you know how ridiculous that sounds as a foreign policy?
Actually, no. That's actually the way a lot of foreign policy works, man. I don't know how much foreign policy you've paid attention to, but yes, there's been on multiple occasions. We will fucking kill you and your entire family. We did that to Gaddafi.
Okay, which one? Which one is it? Is he anti-war and not going to bring us into a conflict, or is he so like such a geopolitical like pro-war madman hawk that people are going to fear him?
So his rhetoric.
So then why would people fear him? Then why would people fear him? Why would people fear him then?
Because he is actually such a flip-flopper that it is hard for the international
whoa, wait a second, stop all of you stop.
Yes,
I just want clarity on this. I want
flip-flopping's better. Yo, can I switch sides? And
please,
I'm just kidding.
Give me a second. Give me a second, because I need to ask this. I need to make this clear. So, in your opinion, Sparky, right, the fact that he is so wishy-washy and unstable, that's a pro for you. That's a something that you like. You know what? I want Trump in for this reason, because he is so unstable that the other world leaders don't know if he's going to go red zone on him, and so because of that, we want Trump in the office to make sure no one fucks with us. Is that your?
So Ronald fucking Reagan is a prime example of someone like that. When Libya fired on an F-14 in the middle of the Mediterranean, within a day, Gaddafi's entire family tree was erased, and that is the kind of policies that Trump alluded to, and it scared the shit.
Wanted to stop the African national currency from coming together, since they were the only ones not controlled by the banks. So, Steve, you're just a globalist at heart too. You're just sitting here supporting the globalist agenda.
That's the wrong strike. That was an earlier strike, but
it does seem to be like a little bit odd. Like there's something contradictory
where you're coming from, my guy. This year I'm going to send everyone else to go fight things so I can enrich myself. Types.
But you like a war hawk though. You want somebody who's unstable.
No, I want someone who will go hands down. If you fuck with something in American interest, we will erase your family lineage and we'll move the fuck on.
But you want an anti-war, but you want an anti-war candidate.
Yes, I do want an anti-war candidate. Yes.
Do you see the contradiction?
Who will look at you and say, "I will murder your entire fucking family. You will exist. You will cease to exist from history, but we're going to stay out of wars otherwise." There's
otherwise, what are you talking? No, wait, no. The two positions are inherently contradictory.
No, they are not.
Yes, they are.
He wants to.
Hey, how big was that war? How big was the war with Libya? It was a 3-day bombing campaign there, guy. That's it. Because they fired a missile at one U.S. aircraft.
Yeah, it's contradictory, right? Because you're saying, look, we want an anti-war candidate, someone who's not going to fund lethal aid in Ukraine, someone who's not going to engage us further in Afghanistan. Back when we were in Afghanistan, you're basically making these claims of we want someone like this. But then when you look at Trump, when he does give lethal aid to Ukraine, when he does use ordnance not used before in Afghanistan, when he does advocate for expanding our military power. Your argument then is, well, he's so flip-floppy that other people are going to fear whether or not he might contradict what he said before. So they're going to be really afraid of him. Well, which one is it? Do we want somebody who's peaceful, or do we want somebody who's such an unstable madman that we're feared on the world stage? We've got to pick one or the other.
No, you could actually have
both. It's gray. And let me explain why. The reason why we weren't, and by the way, he gave him javelins, which is an anti-tank. It's not an F-16, which we're about to send in. Totally different thing between an F-16 and a javelin. And remember, he did get impeached for holding up that aid in 2019. But you do want someone who you don't know. Do you really want to? Are you going to say that Putin would have aided Russian with Trump in the office? No way. He did that because of Biden. And when China takes Taiwan, which they just got the green light for because of Blinken on Monday, literally just gave him the green light. When that happens in November, that will be because of Biden and because of his ineptitude. Not because you want someone who will punch you in your face when needed. Again, not just going around punching and bullying people, right? Or getting us into wars for oil. And like my guy up in the top left, who again wasn't going to serve, at least aircraft Sparky was there. I'm anti-war. I don't want any wars. But again, drone striking Soleimani, I'll take that. That's a no soldiers were on the ground. Nobody was going to die with a Hellfire missile. So.
I mean, you don't support Taiwan? Is that what you were saying a few seconds ago, though?
I don't. I'm a national. I'm a real nationalist. I'm an isolationist. We'll keep all of our bases because we paid for them, but we're not going to be getting involved in any kind of stuff. Literally, we're just keeping the 192 bases for jumping off points, refueling spots.
So to be clear, if things escalated, and this is very hyperbolic, but just to test you out here, they invaded a NATO country, you would say that China, Russia, or something stepped foot into Poland, okay, and decided to invade a NATO country where we've made commitments to support them.
Yeah,
you're in isolation, and
we signed treaties on that.
Say no. You would say
no. Well, Article 5 would kick in. We have to.
Okay, so you would support it in that case.
Now here we go. The F-16s are going to take off from Poland. So if Russia, and again, this is how proxy wars work. Those F-16s are going to strike into Russia, right? That's probably what they're going to do. They're going to do a bomb and run. Again, I wasn't in the military. I'm not trying to play like, strategist. But wouldn't Russia be okay with striking those? Because again, Ukrainian don't have the runways to land F-16, so they're going to be taken off from Poland. So wouldn't Russia be justified to strike Poland? And then doesn't that bring about Article 5? Self-fulfilling
F-16s can take off from roads, for Christ's sakes, man.
They don't. I don't understand the point. Like they don't need a specialized airfield.
Yeah,
right? Like,
it doesn't even take special age equipment or anything to launch it. It's
okay. So they're going to be in Ukraine.
Yes. That is the only way they are going to be authorized for transfer.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
You want to bet $10 on that? I'll send you a super chat to your stream or whatever. Mark my words, they'll be in Poland.
Man,
guys.
only
anyway.
$10? You want?
I don't want. I don't want to big money.
I'm
poor, man. I'm poor. Sorry.
I mean, it's not like we're sending F-35s to the Ukraine. That would be a lot different.
Okay. Regardless, fair enough. So if DeSantis was in power, right? What are you worried about him doing that Trump wouldn't do, right? Like what things would DeSantis support or stand for that Trump wouldn't, that you'd be like, ooh, no, man, DeSantis, that's not okay, right? And this is just an open question, so.
Well, I think I've already answered that. I believe he would continue the same policies that Joe Biden is doing by weaponizing the government against his opponents.
And you think Trump won't?
Yes, because Trump hasn't.
I mean,
that's where the difference is.
Okay.
Talk is cheap, and actions are real. So at the end of the day, Trump talks shit to Hillary Clinton on the debate stage. Yeah, because you'll be in jail. Yeah, that was a great one-liner.
And have the IRS investigate several opponents. Just off the top of my head.
Okay, yeah. Obama did the same thing.
Okay.
And no, it's bad. That's bad.
Fair enough.
But no, that would be, I honestly believe this is my problem with DeSantis. It's very simple. I don't care about his charisma or lack thereof. What I do care about is the fact that he has done actionable things against what he considered to be political opponents to push agendas. I don't agree with that. We're seeing that with Joseph Biden right now. I think that is wrong. I think that is more than an impeachable offense. I believe that's an imprisonable offense. It is unconstitutional. It's un-American, and we shouldn't be having those things. I don't want someone like that doing that. Yes.
Okay. Fair enough. Can I ask, regardless of who you want to win, right? Who you would like to be the nominee, okay? Who do you think has a better chance of winning, right? In the general election, to be clear. So regardless of who you want to be the nominee, right? Whether it be Trump, DeSantis, or some third party, or some dark horse candidate like Vivek or something, right? Who do you think has the best chance in the general election of beating the Democrats, and why?
Okay. So
I want to give Allison a chance first. You did cut her off earlier, so
yeah, I'm sorry, Allison. I apologize.
Okay, I honestly think that DeSantis would be the best candidate in a general election. I think people hate him. Yeah, they called him Death Santis for a couple of years, but like he doesn't have the same kind of negative partisanship value that Trump has. Like, yes, the people that love Trump fucking love Trump and they'll turn out, but the people that hate Trump fucking hate Trump. Like DeSantis's quote unquote weakness that he lacks charisma, like that honestly just gets people on the other side fired up about him less. Like maybe they underestimate him a little bit. Like I honestly do think that if Trump won the nomination, which I think is probably the most likely situation, I do think he'll lose in the general again. And he keeps denying that he lost in the general last time, which we might have different opinions about that. But I don't think that helps him. I think the more that he does that, the more it hurts him. So I just don't see it happening.
I think the best scenario for a general election would be DeSantis as the candidate with Trump's endorsement. That's the best case scenario.
Why is that better than the joint ticket?
There's a joint ticket that never happened.
So I'm talking about in my opinion, realistic scenarios. I don't see a joint ticket happening. I'm skeptical as to whether or not Trump would endorse DeSantis if DeSantis got the nomination because of the whole ego thing. But if Trump did, if he at some point like the party pressured him enough and he said, okay, fine, I'm gonna endorse DeSantis, then I think DeSantis has the best shot of winning. I think Trump as the candidate with DeSantis endorsing him, which I know DeSantis would because he is willing to play the ball game. If that happens, right? I think Trump has less of a shot at winning over people who are the never Trumpers, and then also a whole bunch of kind of middle ideology Americans that don't want Trump again.
I actually think the biggest threat to DeSantis in a general election wouldn't be Biden, it would be Trump. It would be the idea that Trump would try to take him down with him, basically.
I think that in the general, I think that Trump would generally tend to do better, although I think the joint ticket would be the best option. Unless something happened. I think there's one scenario where DeSantis would definitely have an advantage over Trump, and that would be if the Democrats succeed in ousting Joe Biden, specifically with the mechanism of the age question.
Can you elaborate a little bit, please?
DeSantis is young.
He is. That's his advantage here.
He doesn't have the cognitive declines that you see with Joe Biden either.
If DeSantis is in it to win it, he's going to pound age, and he's going to pound it every day. He hasn't been doing that, which is what makes me think that a joint ticket might be possible.
Well, nobody's talked about. He's socially inept too. Like eating pudding with your fingers. Like I'm talking about DeSantis. So he hasn't. I mean, his rollout and stuff like that. Yeah, you haven't heard the pudding finger? Yo, listen.
He eats pudding with his fingers.
Hold on.
Yes,
I want to hear the story, Todd.
So he was on a plane or somewhere without a spoon. You know how you got a snack pack? Well, any of us would just squeeze the pudding out. No, what does DeSantis do? He takes his fingers and he sticks his fingers in the pudding. Dude, that's a disqualifier too. You guys didn't know about the pudding fingers?
Continue.
Yeah,
I didn't know about that.
Listen.
Okay, they have denied these allegations.
They have denied them, but again, listen, my guy's still shopping rusted collusion up in the left corner. So if they can do that, I think pudding fingers, I think I can run that all the way through. Listen, he's getting killed by memes too. The Trump crowd, and in 2016, right, we let the never Trumpers back in. I don't think we do it this time.
Ketchup. I don't know how you argue that.
I cannot. Anything with ketchup, right? I disavow that.
And well
That's
done
not
steak.
real enough. Yeah, well, I like mine mid-well. So again, it might be part of. Maybe I got a character flaw too. Yeah, mid-well. Oh, don't do it. Oh, I'm out. I'm leaving. Oh, he did two fingers, by the way. I'm just saying, if you want to do it, take them both. There you go. Yep, that's your guy.
This is disqualifying to you?
That's your
This is disqualifying to you?
I'm not denying. I'm not denying it's weird. I'm not denying it's weird, but like, I don't know. I think someone eating pudding with their fingers is like. I'm less concerned about that politically than being found liable for like sexual assault, right?
I'd say
which I'm not saying that was like a proper lawsuit, but I'm saying that in terms of who's gonna push, like, okay, on one hand, like if Trump's the nominee, they're gonna be pushing that. And then if DeSantis gets like the nomination, he ate pudding with his fingers. I'm not too concerned.
Right, I understand.
Really
I'm not. Yeah, like you said, the E. Jean Carroll thing is bad. Go ahead, Admiral Gibbs. Sorry.
I'm a little torn on when it actually comes to who's going to have a better chance in like a general. Like now, as far as like who's going to win the Republican Party, I think we all know who's probably going to win, barring some massively unforeseen thing. But like in the general, I don't know who would have a better one because I almost feel like there's already talks from both parties, Biden and Trump, saying that they might not even have a general election debate. And I think that if we had DeSantis, we would actually be able to have Biden come in there and debate and show how lack of cognitive, he's got going on, as opposed to with Trump, they're going to be able to say he's just going to derail it and we're not going to have it. And Trump's already, I don't really know why the Trump party's even gone along with this or put out statements indicating they might be okay with no presidential debates. But it just seems very unwise not to have, because it looks like Biden's going to run unopposed. The Democratic Party seems to be unifying around him and forcing people out that even suggest that there might be an opposition. And so we might not even know what he sounds like at come election time by the time we have to go vote if we get Trump. That's just a real possibility. Now, do I really think they won't have any debates? No, but I mean, so it's kind of like that. And on the charges kind of issue, here's another thing. I'll guess this will be a pro-Trump thing, is that, yeah, he's had a lot of these charges and they're bad. Right. And they might get him. However, it also seems like every time they have one of these charges, it turns into a campaign event and he gets more popular. So I just don't know that it's kind of like she was saying earlier. Trump does is charismatic, but he does bring in all the negative people as well, like that are like anti-Trumpers and hardcore. So I don't know if his current set of charisma bringing out all of his supporters is going to be a pro for him as opposed to the neg of all the people he hates versus DeSantis is kind of an unknown. And I think we can get him in there and actually see Joe Biden destroy his next chance of presidency with his clear dementia or Alzheimer's or whatever he's got going on.
See, I think a more interesting question is, regardless of who gets the nod for the nomination. Okay, I'm here representing Trump. If DeSantis was to win, would I be willing to vote for DeSantis? The same question would be to the gentleman right over here, just to the right of me, who is a Bush supporter. Would you vote for Trump if DeSantis didn't win the nod? I think that's a more interesting question because here's the deal.
Let's ask it. I'm curious
because electability.
Yeah,
on elect.
Sure.
And I'm gonna give the answer. I'm gonna give my answer right off the bat for you. I'm gonna make it easy. So electability, when you're looking at a general election, Trump has a lot more hurdles to overcome than DeSantis. If DeSantis was to win the nod for the nomination, I would begrudgingly punch that ticket because I think any trained monkey would be better than the trained monkey that we currently have in the office.
Okay. And with that, let's just go around real quick. Gibbs, Trump gets the nomination. Do you still vote for Trump in 2024?
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Allison, Trump gets the nomination. Still voting Trump? No? So you would not.
I can't do it.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Fair enough.
Orange
Lactoid.
Man that bad?
I don't know.
Okay, fair enough. Todd, if DeSantis is a nominee, do you vote for DeSantis? Oh, you already said
nope.
you write in.
Nope.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm writing them in.
Okay. And Crambo, DeSantis gets a nominee. Are you voting DeSantis, or are you sitting this one out, or doing something else?
I'd vote DeSantis, but I'd like to hear him talk some more about the Second Amendment first.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and DeSantis is kind of anti. And Donald Trump has his problems with the Second Amendment.
Yes,
too.
he does.
The bump stock thing was pretty fucking bad. But when it comes down to it, both of them actually. Ron DeSantis openly supports fucking red flag laws, which is unconstitutional on so many grounds.
Yeah, that's a problem.
That's a horrible problem, and Trump has nodded towards them, which I think is terrible as well. Our rights are being eroded slowly but surely through power and federal government. The only reason why, because when I DM'd Wick about this, I said, look, if you need someone, I'm willing to come on. And he's like, well, I need someone for Trump. And I'm like, okay. I'm not diehard Trump. I'm really not right now. I like 𝕑𝖎, but he just doesn't have enough.
𝕑𝖎.
Well, so he's got some great ideas. I like his ideas of between 18 and 25. If you're not actively serving in some capacity, you should have to take a civics test or something like that.
If you're in my chat, any of my chats, whether YouTube or stream, if you've heard of 𝕑𝖎, if you know who he is, press 1. If you don't know who he is, if you've never heard of this guy, press 2. Okay, I want to see kind of the general read. Continue though, please.
Yeah,
I've
but
not
he's
heard
got
of
some interesting ideas, and they're not horrible, because we have a lot of I think one of the biggest problems in American politics right now is someone in my chat is saying this is more of a debate of who is the lesser of two evils, and you're actually right. There is no deal with this. There's problems with DeSantis, there's problems with Trump, there's problems with every candidate. And unfortunately, we are stuck with the lesser of the two evils. One thing I like about 𝕵𝖎𝖙, he's coming up with these new ideas. He wants to actually bring more informed voting. Hey, if you're not currently serving as a doing Greenpeace or some type of civil action or doing military service, something, you can't vote until you're 25 unless you pass a civics test. I think that would be great, because most people don't understand how our government works.
Did you just argue Starship Troopers? That's literally what you're arguing. You're like, you got to have service to be a citizen. Is that
Service
what
guarantee
you're
citizenship is fucking based.
Oh my lord! All right.
I also
Yeah.
see. I'm actually a person who would argue if you're not a landowner, you can't vote, because if you're not willing to invest in the country, you have no reason being
pandering
a
to
part of its
Yeah,
org.
it sounds like a poll tax to me. But I'm all for civics, right? We definitely need to get more civically engaged. The kids are
The only
not doing
problem
their
with this
best.
is that I don't trust the government to decide who can and can't vote.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It sounds like it's going to disenfranchise a few brown people to me. But again, I'm all for civics. Like, I think we need more of it.
How is learning about physics being forced to pass a civics test? How is that? How is
Again,
that
it sounds like a poll
disenfranchising
tax, right?
brown people?
Isn't that what we used to do? I'm just saying. He started saying that.
So what the poll taxes actually were was
you just said landowner, and originally that was white landowner.
Yeah.
So
well, no,
originally
you didn't just you could own
was.
land regardless of your race.
No, I believe it said white landowners. But again,
no,
I'm not going to argue.
It said landowners, because actually women could vote as long as they were landowners. Yeah,
I think 1791
regardless
immigration
of
that
how
came
we
into that
used to
too. But
do
anyway,
it, we're gonna start just real quick. Regardless
Right.
of before we get into that rabbit hole, right? Is there anyone else who would support something like this, where like some sort of civics test or some sort of you have to be a landowner? 𝕵𝖎𝖙? Anyone else?
No, wait. Not the landowner part.
he
but
likes
the civics.
civics.
The
civics test is yeah.
I would support the landowner well before I do the civics test.
Why?
Because there's at least some merits to, like, hey, I just studied up on something and now I can pass a civics test. I could be like Bob from another country and then come in here with an agenda and read a civics test and pass it. Now I can vote. Versus, like he said, let's have this guy who actually owns land and can invest in the country and build on it. Whatever. Now, both of them, the prerequisites that are terrible, terrible fucking ideas. But I mean, if I had to choose one, at least the landowner's got a vested interest to keep his area like doing well.
Okay, fair enough. I don't know if we would want to debate that right now or not. I don't think it is pertinent to the question at hand, but it is an interesting question that I might have to have you back on discuss in more detail. I'd like to see you argue that.
A lot of people will say that the civics test is unfair because of the state of our public school system. And yes, I agree. The fact that our public schools doesn't teach actual civics, we teach virtue signals and everything else, but we don't actually teach how the government runs. I think there's a problem with that. And so we have a lot of uninformed voters. They don't understand how the government works, and that actually disenfranchises a lot of voters as well. So just having them actually pass the same civics test that we require a legal immigrant to pass in order to gain citizenship, to gain their rights to vote, I don't think that's asking too much. I think the idea of natural citizenship by birth, I think those days are kind of gone, considering we've been blurring the line with anchor babies, with illegal immigrants, and all these other policies to try to naturalize people who decided to willingly break the laws of our country to begin with. So let's just hold Americans, let's hold people who were born here legitimately, let's just hold them to the same standards that we hold everyone else. You got to pass this test in order to be a citizen.
And I just worry about, real quick, I just worry about who's running the test. I think 𝕵𝖎𝖙, you said that too. Who is going to be administering the test? Is it going to be Mark Zuckerberg and the $350 million that he spent? So again, that's what I'm saying. But yeah, go ahead, man. Didn't mean to cut you off. That's where my problem lies in. Who's going to be? And again, we got kids. Well, right. Who's going to make this test? And it just seems weird. But again, I'm all for kids getting more civic engaged. But what test is there now?
The exact same test that's given to immigrants to become citizens of the United States would qualify exactly, because it goes through how the country operates and things like that. And that's really all we're asking for, is some basic understanding. Let's get rid of the uninformed vote.
I think
by making
landowners
sure
should be
people
required
understand.
to give the test. The landowners should make up what the civics are, and then the landowners can distribute, and we can
What
actually
I think should happen is the people who have subbed to my channel should be able to have a lot more voice than those who haven't, and the people who are in my YouTube chat who super chat should have a lot more voice than the ones who aren't. But I still provide the content free for everyone, right? But if you want to support me and you want to reach out and throw some dollars my way, now's the time to do it, gang. Now's when you should probably super chat your questions for the panel. All that. Send me some bits if you're on Twitch. Sub to my channel. Give some subs. If you like what I'm doing, I can't do it for free. That would be a blessing to support me like that. If Trump is going to run, if he does get the nominee, what do you think is his best tactic to beat the Democrats, right? Like, what play does he have that you think will be most effective? Like, how does he appeal to the swing voter or the independent voter or the someone who's not a Republican who would otherwise
focus on the weaponization of government and the actual economy that he fostered up until COVID?
Debate Biden, act presidential.
What does that mean, act presidential?
Well, basically that he should attempt to have some kind of decorum. Generally, his approval rating goes up when he does that.
He shouldn't go into
the debates looking to roast Biden and to sit there and call him a demented old man or whatever. He should go there. He should talk policy. And sure, he can jab at Biden. He can make fun of the guy a little bit, but it shouldn't be the entire thing, because the Dems are just going to, turn that around on him with like swing voters and people who are like on the edge, who just don't like the fact that Trump tweets mean.
Okay. Any other?
My answer is ballot harvesting. Remember, the 2020 election was literally over 50,000-60,000 votes in 6 states. You got to get that ballot back. You got to start voting early. None of this on election day crap, or else you see what happens. Again, remember, it was the most secure election ever. I'm not saying anything about that, but I'm saying that so this way there's no questions, right? What was it? It was 50 or 60,000 votes over 6 different states, right? So get some ballots. And I don't think anybody's going to change. Look at Allie. She's not going to vote for Trump. You're not going to sell. Like, I stopped trying to sell Trump to people. Like, I did that from 2018, 2019. Oh, he's not racist. He's not this. He's not a Russian. It's just a waste of time. So either there's people that will vote for him. I think most people vote with their pocketbooks. So, right, they'll be more inclined seeing what the gas prices and all the inflation. And again, Trump was part of that inflation, right? We printed $6 trillion in 2020. So you can't, at least it was bipartisan, I guess. But either way, he is part of the inflation too. So, but yeah, you got a ballot harvest. Other than that, you're going to lose again. Very simple. Hey, Desantis is going to lose too if he doesn't ballot harvest. It's legal. I don't mean anything illegal. I mean, just the act of, collecting votes, right? Soul Sundays, things that the Democrats do that Republicans have been inclined. Ronna McDaniels, who's been running the GOP, hasn't done anything. Right, Scott Pressler does more for the GOP than Ronna McDaniel. So
$10,
anyway.
$10 from Temperate Takes to say this. You're getting money for sitting through this, despite the pain you have caused me, and then an emoji with the covering the face.
Yes.
Thank you for the money. More money, please. That would be great. Same question in a little bit of reverse. What do you think Trump's greatest weaknesses are going into the 2024? What does he have to watch out for? What will sink him? Go ahead, Allison.
I really think his biggest enemy is himself and like his own instability and his lack of self-control. Like the fact that he just did that Brett Baier interview where he basically said that he did the shit with the classified documents that they are charging him with. And we can argue prosecutorial, like selective prosecution and you can maybe make convincing arguments for it, but prosecutors have discretion and they're allowed to charge him for it. And like that interview he just did would have been against any like decent lawyer's advice. Like no lawyer would have like certainly his lawyer was like, please don't go on the interview and say these things, and he did anyway. Like he gets in his own way, and I don't think he can not. Like I honestly think he's like so truly unstable.
Is that the consensus? I mean, like,
yeah, he's just unstable, right? And if some people see the instability as a good thing, and some people see the instability as a bad thing. But I think if you're somebody who doesn't like instability and you prefer maybe somebody who's more consistent, some people might use the word principled, but I mean that's, I guess, a little bit of a loaded word. I would use the word principled to some extent. You're going to kind of push them away a little bit when you are not that, right? When you're kind of less about the principles that the people who voted for you are pushing for, and more about maybe again, ego.
I mean, I actually agree that it is himself, and this is going to sound kind of stupid when I say it, but I think it's a real concern. But it's not like his instability or public persona. I think it's going to be his physical health that gets him. I think that's his biggest enemy. I don't think it's the same kind of issues that Biden's having with his mental decline. But I mean, if you look at his diet, and like he's published his diet, what's the man eating? The man's eating like well-done steak and cheeseburgers every day. I'm not a scientist and I'm not a medical expert, but I can't imagine that's going to lead to a long life at that age. I would assume that he's got to be at risk for some kind of heart attack or going into some kind of coma if he does have some kind of, health scare. And I think that's something that the Republicans and Trumpers haven't really talked about at all. They act like he's this like God tier, man's man, like he was out here wrestling bears in the woods like Putin or something. But, I really think that we should be concerned about this man's physical health. And I don't think anybody's talking about it at all.
He drinks Diet Coke every day.
Every day. I mean, and we're not even talking about just like heart disease. Like the Diet Coke thing's gonna put. My grandmother died of like kidney failure, and like these are all things. What are we gonna do? Jump him in like front of the line to get a kidney transplant if it's stuff? Now, I'm not saying I have any evidence that support this, but I'm just basing off like he did have a COVID scare, and he's openly admitted it. What this is his diet, and like he skipped his physical for how long until they did it or whatever. But it just indicates to me that he's got some physical concerns.
Trump's biggest weakness is how he presents himself. Yes, his health is something to be concerned with. He's an older gentleman, but by all accounts, by people who love him and hate him, he runs circles around them all. He works insane hours. That's just his work ethic. The whole present himself more presidential, that is a constant and legitimate concern, because the way Trump acts is not what is considered to be presidential. That's both a strength and a weakness, especially if you're sick and tired of voting for the same people who are part of the same 14 or 16 different families that essentially has ran this entire country from its founding. He is not presidential. That could be a strength, but that is more a weakness, because it does bring bad optics to the office of the presidency.
How can we get any more worse optics than Biden? But I'm sorry, you weren't done. Finish. Sorry.
Well, Jimmy Carter. That's how you do it worse than Biden.
Jimmy Carter is like a top president compared to Biden, I would say.
Jimmy Carter did more good in his post presidency than he ever could during his presidency. That's where Jimmy Carter gets his pass. He was a shit president. Right. It is what it is.
I would say the unpredictability is the thing that we do vote for, right? I'm tired of let's just take the 2016 debates when he told Hillary Clinton about the carried interest loophole. And he says, look, I benefit from it because that's on the books. And the reason you're not going to shut it is because your constituents won't let you. Like, no politicians really said that to us, right? Because I'm watching those debates and I'm like, whoa, he's breaking it down and saying it real. His biggest weakness is letting disloyal people like Desantis, Mitt Romney, I don't even need to list all the disloyal people.
Can you list who around Trump? Well, I'm just curious. Todd,
who's been loyal?
For just real quick, $5 from 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙 Twitch TV to say, if we move to the civics test to vote standard, how do we feel about a proficiency and safety test to own a firearm?
No.
Negative.
Terrible.
So test to vote, no test for firearms.
Well, both would require a constitutional amendment, and I would not even advocate to make that without the amendment. Okay, for a Second Amendment, it's the same thing. You would have to do a constitutional amendment. I would not support that amendment because the right to defend yourself is a right. Period. And
do people not defend themselves through voting?
Actually, no, they don't.
Okay, fair enough.
Because if they were actually defending themselves through voting, Black America would never vote Democrat.
Okay, well, I want to comment briefly on this.
Please.
So when we're talking about voting, voting is more than, people tend to like dress up voting in the language of, representation, speaking up for yourself, speaking up, those kind of statements. But voting isn't quite that, right? Whenever you vote, what you're doing is you're imposing your will on other people, right? Whenever you vote for a policy, you are, through raw power, imposing your will upon the other people in your community. And there's some people who we already say, look, they don't have the judgment to do this. We don't trust their judgment, like children, for example. We don't trust their judgment. We don't want their will imposed in our community, so we don't let them vote. If you have somebody who is like essentially a child in the sense they don't know anything about what's going on, do we really trust their judgment imposed, their judgment when it comes to their power being imposed on their community? I don't know. There's a real concern there. So I think the civics test for voting is an interesting idea. I support it. With guns, this is going to sound weird. I actually think there's less risk of damage with that than there was with voting. But yes, I do. But I think there is a consistent argument you could make for that with guns.
This is going to be stop just real quick. This is going to be next week's topic. I think I'd like 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙, I'd like you two on this. I have some people who would disagree with you, and I would like. Are you familiar with who 𝕲𝖐 is? Would you like to fight him on this?
I've debated him. Yeah, I've debated him a couple times. Yeah.
Okay, but that's next week. But I want to get back again. I want to get back to what we're talking about today. I want to try to re-rail this train. Okay. DeSantis, if he wins the nominee, what does he need to do, right, to secure a victory over the Democrats? What does he lack that he needs to fix or to change or to promote himself so that he can beat Biden in the 2024 election? In your opinion?
He needs charisma classes.
He needs to do more media. Sorry, you can go. I was gonna say he needs to do more media appearances. He's afraid to do them because everybody calls him socially retarded, but he needs to just do it anyway. So that's a big problem. Is that he's so behind in the
He
polls.
needs to spend 2 weeks at Mar-a-Lago.
He needs to fire whoever tried to do it, to be honest. He needs to fire them, hire a new representation agency or something.
It's not the representation; it's him. They say he comes into the office and he doesn't even say hello to people. He's one of those type of people to where Trump's right, hey, what's up, guy? How you doing? Blah blah blah. It's just he's socially inept, I think. Anyway,
he's been doing media blitzes. I mean, he had his failed announcement on Twitter, which was amazing. He just did a deal over in San Francisco where he was talking about bums shooting heroin and taking dumps in the street. He's doing media stuff. He has no charisma. He's dull.
I think it's one of the reasons why I like him, but I think it's one of the things he would have to tone back in the elections. He would have to tone back the war on wokeism stuff a little bit. I think that he panders to his base a lot, and he could pick specific issues and maybe go in on them. But I think that if he goes in here, he's gonna go super hard as he has been going on some of the LGBTQ stuff. He's gonna really rally the same people that are never Trumpers that come after him, which which I think is his one distinct advantage at the moment. But if he goes and keeps just like hammering this as his like main agenda point, now if he sticks to some of the other anti-woke stuff like the policing and like the crime, all sorts like there's a lot of them, then I think he'll be doing fine. But I think he needs to tap it back on a few of them if he wants to do better in the general.
Yo, he's going to get killed on this Black history stuff too. Now, I'm anti-CRT, right? I believe in the 1776 project, but there's a lot of books that have nothing to do with CRT and that are just Black history books that are getting pulled. So that in the national, he's going to get bloodied up over that one too. But I'm all for anti-woke stuff. But when you get into the Black history stuff, I mean, come on, some of this stuff is really nuts to me. What's that?
Are you talking about the critical race stuff?
Well, that's what they're putting it under CRT.
Todd, can you give an example of a book DeSantis has banned that you find he shouldn't have banned? Can you give me an example?
No, I can't. But I watched the video and they have lists of books that are just definitely not CRT. Again, I'm not for the 1619 program. I believe in Dr. Woodson. He's at Stanford. He did the 1776 project, right? But I'll get it for you. Hold on. I'll look it up and I'll tell you exactly. There's a wide list of books that don't fall under CRT that are actually have some Black history in them. Again, I hate CRT, Derek Bell, its inception. It goes to critical theory.
You guys keep saying woke stuff also.
Not me, yeah.
Yeah, well, Gibbs.
Because woke used to mean something different. Right. Woke used to mean you were awake, and now woke means like you're I guess whatever woke means nowadays.
Yeah,
but it used to mean something different 20 years ago. I'm an old head, so.
Sure, I want to, first of all, thank you for the $5, William 𝕊𝖍𝖎. Here you go, Wick. Thank you. I appreciate you. More, please. I do need more money. We are kind of down on the money side on YouTube, so we want to get that up if we can, and on Twitch as well. So if you feel like donating, please do. But I won't harp on that too much. I want Sparky and Gibbs to tell, and all of you to tell me what woke means in your mind. Like, what does woke mean?
Honestly, I think one of the whole what is woke, it's the over policing of politically correct language through a progressive lens. That's really where it is. And I think Ron DeSantis actually, I think his campaign against woke speaks more to normies than it does anything. People are sick and tired of things like being called cisgender. No, that's normal. Okay, you're transgender or you're normal. That's there you go.
Do you consider cis a slur?
Actually, yes, because of the modern day usage. And no, I'm not a chemistry equation,
so
I don't really give it.
People calling others cis. Like if someone came on on my show and started calling me a cishead, a sissy, do you think that Twitch should moderate them?
No, I actually think that they should take all slurs and make them good online. Because when you have certain words that can only be said by certain people based on the hue of their skin, I think that's ridiculous. The fact that Hassan Piker got banned for talking about a saltine when he was referring it to disparage white people, I think is stupid. I also think that certain creators who say certain words that either end in a hard R or a soft A can be given a pass where others are not. No, free all the speech, go insane with it. I don't care. And if you hurt yourself because someone called you a bad name, good. Thin in the gene pool.
Does anyone else here
Life's
consider
good.
cis a slur?
It's ideological language.
It certainly seems to be used that way, doesn't it?
I mean, I don't think it's a slur. Could I comment on wokeness for
yes, you may.
So I actually recently had a discussion on wokeness. The definition that I use is wokeness is the pursuit of collective social equity at the expense of individual rights and general health. When you look at a lot of the books that are being banned, right, not just by DeSantis, but also a number of other states and a number of other politicians are pushing for the bans, some of it's just blatantly pornographic, right? So like, one example, and if you're streaming, don't pull this up on stream because it is brutally pornographic, a book called Genderqueer. This is one of the books that has been being banned and removed from elementary school libraries. And then, you have Democrats on the left that are freaking out about this and saying this is homophobic, this is horrible that they're removing this book. But, you guys can look up the book on your own time. And yes, you can very clearly see pornographic and explicit sexual imagery within the book. And so this would be an example of, it's so important to kind of push this sort of collective social equity that were willing to expose children to pornography in the pursuit of doing so. And then he's criticized. And then you have people like Desantis, who's been very good on this wokeness thing, by the way. You have him being criticized for the most part, somewhat leading the charge here, right? I actually really disagree a little bit. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, Gibbs, but I think that even if electorally it might not be the best strategy, which I'm not even sure about that. I think it actually is a good strategy. It's so important to be fighting this stuff at this point in time, especially the stuff that's being fed to fourth graders, that I just don't see compromise here. There's just no, and DeSantis is better on this than Trump ever was.
I agree with that, and I mean, like I said, that's one of the reasons why I like him. I like, and I would much prefer him over Trump. I definitely think he's taken to the war, and I'm on wokeism or whatever. And the way I'll define wokeism, I mean, I think you pretty much summed it up in the intelligent people way. I'm just gonna say I think it's the extreme left ideology that's gotten so far past common sense that normal people just can't even deal with it, right? And like I'm gonna use a different example to kind of really drive this point home. Is that, like, for example, Nick Merckx just got in trouble for saying he thinks something should be not around little kids, and they people just are calling him, like, transgenocides. And I'm going to say, like, it seems to be like DeSantis is willing to stand up to these people.
To be clear, he said something specific. He said leave
the kids alone.
Leave the kids alone. Yeah, and I think that's a general sentiment.
And in the context with which he said it was they were talking about banning the pride flags and other things from a school.
But it was also because there was a fight outside, like a parent-teacher conference, like sort of thing that was going on that had to do with all that. So my point is, though, is that encapsulates a mentality that a large segment of the population does have. And I do think that, like I said, it's a reason I like him. I think he's going and standing up for that. But I do think it's going to hurt him, and it's going to draw a lot more heat than he would necessarily have. However, I mean, maybe just like not go against it is my opinion, but maybe don't make it your leading cause. But I could be wrong on that one.
I agree with you that it would draw heat, but I think that I think almost all the heat comes from people who just don't fucking know what it is, right? When they say, like, oh, like, don't say gay, like, when people like named it that, they just had no idea what the Parental Rights and Education bill actually did. I think if they got to a debate stage and people were like, yeah, this whole you're extreme, DeSantis, like, what are you doing? And then he like holds up the books that he's been like removing from elementary school classrooms, and like, I mean, I'm not even sure he could show it on TV, right? So that's part of the problem. Like, you probably can't actually even show on TV what we were showing to fourth graders, right? And so, maybe he's limited there on how well he can disperse with those myths. But if Americans knew the kind of shit that was happening, I just don't think that they would have the reaction. I think by and large, most adult Americans would be like, what the fuck? We were doing what? We were allowing what books in fourth graders' classrooms? That's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. That's insane, right? But then, of course, people don't know the specifics, and all they hear is book banning, and so then they think, oh, well, that's bad. I'm against book banning.
Is one of the reasons, Lactoid, to you specifically, is one of the reasons that you are a DeSantis man over Trump, because Trump did not go hard against the woke stuff from 2016 and 2020? He didn't failed?
I think so. I think he didn't do a good enough job. He was mostly focused on immigration. That was his thing. That was his MO. And even now, a lot of the things that he's bringing up, he's brought up ending birthright citizenship. He, wants to, he's talked about how good his wall is. That's arguable. He's like none of his rhetoric and none of his policies, to me, seem to be as focused on what I think the real issue here is, other than compared to DeSantis. I'm not denying that he did a little bit of that, right? There were, he countered the 1619 project, and he, argued against it, and his people did as well. And I'll give him credit for that, but I just don't think he's as aggressive with it as DeSantis is.
So he also did things like he made sure to ban transgender people from serving in the United States military, thereby saving U.S. citizens tons of money for their treatments, and also helping the readiness of the United States military, because transgender people cannot deploy while going through any of their transitioning, because we don't have time for gender affirming care downrange in war zones. He actually, Trump did a lot of good things. So
you supported the transgender ban in the military?
Yes. If anyone has a mental disorder, you should not be allowed to serve. I mean, that's what I came in under.
Right, that'll be another debate sometime. But
I mean, If you can't trust the reality that you live in, how can we trust your judgment on the battlefield?
We'll
If
talk
you can't
about
look
it
in the mirror,
we'll
can't look in the
talk
mirror
about
and go,
it in
"Hey,
another
this is
topic.
what I am."
But I wanna go over, because 𝕵𝖎𝖏 brings up a good point, right? Or and what I mean by that is, I'm curious, like, candidates aside, what is your most important issue coming up in the 2024 election? What issue or group of issues is going to drive your vote here? I'm just curious. What are you most concerned about or most interested in the 2024? And we'll start with Sparky, and we'll just go around, and you can talk about that.
Number one issue is going to be national sovereignty, and secondary is going to be the economy.
Economy. Can you elaborate on the economy? What does the economy mean? That's a huge...
Our economy is in shit right now. I actually want to do away with the reliance on foreign countries for manufacturing. I want to return manufacturing back to America. I want to actually impose not only tariffs, but in complete blockades on China to starve them out, because we supply a third of their food. We need to end all trade with China right now. We need to starve out those people. And let's make America great by actually building America through its foundational efforts, through the economy and through national sovereignty.
Gibbs, go ahead. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna echo that. I like, I'm even more of an anti-China guy than he is. I mean, I'm thinking we should just like glass the whole country, but that's neither here nor there. I'm saying that we got to stand up to China in the economy. He basically hit the 2 points I was gonna hit. Those are probably my two biggest, and then I'd probably add a third, which is the war against wokeism. And like, I mean, it's pervasive all throughout like every culture right now. You just see like everything's super agenda based, and you just see things being done just for the sake of being done, and it's got to stop. It's just got to stop.
Allison.
Already muted. Yeah, I want a person who I can trust in foreign policy situations. The instability alluded to earlier as like a positive, for me that is a negative. And I think DeSantis would keep a cool head in stressful situations like that, and also low taxes.
Okay, so taxes and foreign policy. Next up, 𝕾𝖏𝖏. Wokeism, like, other than that, like, wokeism, you gave your rant on that, but what else?
Well, that's my main thing when it comes to this.
That's your reason to tear.
Well, that's one of the main reasons, because I think that's going to have the most impact on generations going forward, right? Like the propaganda that's being put in schools right now is going to have very long-term impacts that we just can't predict. I think this is going to be brutal. The other and then other policies would just be really just, again, shrinking government, less coercive power, letting people keep more of what they worked for. So,
okay, Todd, what do you vote? What's your main issue coming up?
Yeah, it's immigration, because if you don't have a sovereign border, you don't have a sovereign nation. Basically, even though Aircraft Sparky threw some shots earlier on my loyalty thing, I'm agreeing with him. Those two in that direct order too. A lot of Chinese nationals are coming in. I think that they're advanced teams. I think that they're actually, I mean, I imagine it's kind of hard to get out of China.
Elaborate on that, please.
I think, okay, so I believe that this is a hypothesis from a book that was written in like 1990, something warfare by two Chinese generals. I think they're sending teams here, right? And then what they'll do is they'll attack infrastructure, railways, like all these train derailments. I don't know who's doing that. It seems like there's a bit much. I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist.
Wait. So you're positing, your hypothesis.
My hypothesis.
China, the country, is sending in advanced teams through immigration.
Chinese nationals.
They are responsible. For
train
derailing the trains that have happened recently.
Some of them. Some of the fires. Sure. Right, and then what they'll do is...
What about the I-95 collapsing? Or what
listen,
China?
I don't know about that, but the fact that tanker, caught on fire right under a point where it needed to catch on fire, again, I-95, I'm from Philadelphia, and never, in my 50 years, there's never been a collapse. So again, I don't have the information.
The streets in Philadelphia?
I have. I'm from Philadelphia.
It's a matter of time.
Kensington and Allegheny. Yeah, but dude, listen, the fire is what caused that, right? The fire being right underneath there. So again, I don't know. I don't have any information on it, but again,
Chinese run Illuminati, bro. They're coming for us, don't you know?
listen, you could
I'm
laugh
curious.
about that all you want. There's paranoid and there's paying attention, buddy. I do both. I'm a little paranoid and I pay attention. So anyway,
so what else? Like, so that's your main issue, immigration, because you
yeah,
believe that China is
immigration.
sending advanced teams to sabotage us.
Well, not only that, but again, the first thing that's a little bit of a stretch. I did say that, but no, the first thing is if you don't have a sovereign border, you don't have a country.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So you don't have a sovereign nation. Then I posited because again, yeah, I do really believe that they are sending over. We'll call them wet teams. We'll call them hit teams, hit squads, right?
Okay.
I mean, a few years ago, I don't want to turn this into conspiracy theory.
I mean,
so,
they did.
plus we're on
To
Twitch.
give them a point, they did just arrest a group of individuals that were Chinese agents and send them back. Like,
Right. We have secret police stations here. Like I don't think. I mean, you can laugh about it all you want, but I'll post stuff in Discord because like I said, I'll show you. Like 2 years ago, there was 13,000 automatic things that would turn a regular gun into an automatic gun. Now, of course, you wouldn't want to do that because the barrel will explode on you. But then they came from China, so I'll link everything while I'm telling you why I think I'm going there. But again, I am admittedly a conspiracy
I will
theorist.
ask you some questions later about this.
Oh yeah,
I
have a lot of stuff. Yeah, I'll show you the hypothesis. I don't want to derail. Go ahead.
Please do. I want to get 𝕶𝖏𝖏 a chance to answer the question though. 𝕶𝖏𝖏, coming up in the 2024 election, other than the Chinese secret teams to destroy our infrastructure, what are some of your concerns?
Well, I do think China's a concern, but I don't think they're my number one concern. I would say, I mean, first and foremost for me, eternally, it's going to be courts and specifically the Second Amendment. The 2A is in a very interesting place right now, and I think it's important that we allow it to develop to its full potential. The court picks that Trump had were pretty good, and I think that it's important to have an executive that can be trusted with that sort of thing. Because these, I mean, I would say even more than the war on wokeism in a lot of ways, the Supreme Court is really the future. It's the way that our nation is going to go for, well, at least 100 years if current precedent stands.
Are you happy with how the Supreme Court has been handling itself of late, right? The Trump-appointed Supreme Court, are you happy with how it's been operating?
I think they've been great. I think the guys down at the Federalist Project do excellent work.
Okay.
But that's probably number one for me. But beyond that, I think it's really important that we stand solid behind Ukraine.
I think that's actually an argument for Trump that he's making. Really, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but the Supreme Court thing I think is a really good point for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's talking about because they went against one of the Trump appointees went against the other conservative justices to ensure voting rights for a disenfranchised group. So I think that really goes.
He didn't pick yes men. I mean, he picked solid justices.
Right. Yeah. So I'm saying that I think that he did a really good job. I think that that's a good point that you make right there for Trump. That they're not just politically like blindsided, which was what I think you want in a Supreme Court justice.
No, you definitely don't want someone that's just completely politically biased. I haven't been happy with every decision they've made, but I don't want decisions made down ideological lines. I would rather have them use the basis of history of the nation and things like that when you're talking about constitutional deals.
I'm not a Republican partisan, right? I open this by saying that I'm like classically liberal. So I think that having 5 clones of right-wing Sotomayor would be just the same as having 4 clones of Sotomayor on the court. But I really do think that's where Trump did well. But anyway, my issues for the election, I think the economics are a big one. Primarily stopping inflation is a big issue. I think the student loan controversy is going to be a thing that's going to grow roots as well, especially if Democrats do win for some reason. I think housing prices are going to be a problem coming up in the next decade or so that we're going to have to address in some way or another. And beyond that, the Pacific region is heating up quite a bit, and I think that the U.S. has an opportunity to stand in and be a leader here to defend countries like Taiwan and the Philippines and Japan, some of which we're obligated to do. Others, it would just be good policy to do. And we have the ability to bring in regional partners like India to help us out with that, and I think that'd be really nice.
Okay. So last question before we get to closings and things like that, because I don't want to take up too much of your time. Given the fact that a lot of you, right, are hopeful to beat the Democrats in 2024, you don't like Biden, etc., what do you attribute the Republican loss in the midterms to? Like, why did you, or do you think you lost, right? Like, why did Republicans underperform in the midterms, given the fact that we had all the issues you're talking about with the economy back then? There's still a lot of issues, right, with Ukraine and things like that. So what about the midterms? Yeah, why did you lose?
You mind if I pick that one up?
Yeah, please.
I don't think we did. I think that there was a lot of hype around the midterms, and I think that that's why people think that we lost, really. I mean, the Republicans did pretty well. I mean, they picked up a few seats in the House. They managed to hold the line.
It's a historical, like, from a historical perspective, in the last 30 to 50 years, right? They underperformed midterm expectations. Like, why? Do you disagree?
The Republicans did, but not by a huge amount. I mean, it's within normal range.
Okay.
I have a theory on that, and I think that it's a twofold thing. And I think people are miscrediting, saying it's Trump's fault, and saying that it's a lack of political pull. I think what happened was Trump supported some of these candidates, and they got way more of a push than they otherwise would have, or they were worse candidates than what the Republican Party would have probably put in there. Like Herschel Walker has like 6 personalities. The man does not belong anywhere near the any kind of elected office, and yet he was only lost by like what 2 percentage points, 3 percentage points, something really close. So like he put his backing behind some of these candidates who shouldn't have been candidates, and they got massive pushes, and they did relatively well but lost, as opposed to saying, the Republican Party did bad as a whole. They did do bad because of Trump to a degree, right? But I think y'all are misunderstanding the power of Trump's push. If he had got behind the establishment Republicans, which would have been better, quote unquote, all around candidates, I think there would have been a landslide. But instead, it seemed like he picked Handmaid or whoever was quick to come onto him, and I think a lot of Republicans were kind of confused about what Trump losing the election really meant for his popularity.
I think the other problem is that there is a bit of a schism in the party. You had, for instance, Mitch McConnell doing things like throwing tons of weight and cash behind one of the candidates in Alaska, which was a race between 2 Republicans, basically. And they just the strategy between Trump's team and like the RNC was not coordinated in a way that it very well could have been. And I feel like it would have been a lot more effective if everyone was pulling in the same direction.
Okay. $5, Canadian dollars, unfortunately, from Testicle Johnson to ask this question. Great panel. As a registered Republican, I have a quick question for the panel. Should DeSantis perhaps marry a black man to appeal to a wider base? Hey, he paid me money.
The question is which one of them has to wear the dress?
Good question. Fair enough.
You should marry Andrew Gillum.
Okay. Fair enough. I want to hear from the rest of them. So we heard from Gibbs. We heard from Crambo. Todd, why did the Republicans underperform in the midterms?
Abortion, very simply. That's how bad the left wants to kill kids. Go back to that Wisconsin Supreme Court thing. The Republicans are losing the culture, man. Like, it's hard. And again, that's why I went to the black book thing. Like, I'm all for banning Lawn Boy and all the sexual stuff. But again, one of the books, I did look it up for you. You know the little black girl that did the inauguration for Biden? She wrote a book with that poem. That's one of the books banned. I mean, that just seems weird to me. But anyway, the people wanted to kill babies so bad. That's why Democrats overperform. I don't think anybody who's saying that the Democrats didn't overperform in the midterms, you're coping. You're coping. They definitely did. I think Obama, he lost 70 seats literally in 2010 after he won in 08. Then that following midterm, he got smoked in the Senate and in the House. So yeah, definitely the Republicans did underperform, but it's about abortion, man. That's why you see Trump. And again, I like what DeSantis did with the 6-week ban. I mean, I want abortion totally done. That's a personal thing. But so you see Trump already pivoting away from getting strong on abortion, which again, I don't like. I wish it was banned. But again, he's saying leave it up to the states, let the states decide, which is a little bit of a federalist take. So, that's why they underperform. We need to kill babies in this country that bad. So, in my opinion.
Fair enough. What other opinions you got? Sparky, why'd they underperform?
Actually, I don't think the Republicans underperformed. I actually think Democrats overperformed. Democrats traditionally have a much better ground game, and with all the legislation that came through with the totally not not man-made pandemic that happened, with the Wu flu, or whatever. They took advantage of a great situation, and they've always had great ground game. When it comes to midterm elections, outcome is low. Republicans have got to do something to actually excite the voter base to get them to vote. They're not going to get excited over 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙. No, that was one of the worst things that worst people Trump could have backed for an election. There's still things going on with Kari Lake. We don't know how that's actually going to come out.
Yeah, but the other side voted for Fetterman. That's what you're up against. You're up against an actual stroke victim.
People would rather vote for someone who is mentally incompetent over a loser
who you would
like
put in
𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙.
Again, he's not even from Pennsylvania. That was one of the biggest things. Why? And he had a fundraiser where he was making 𝕾𝖍𝖏. I don't know what that is, but as a regular person, I mean, you don't come off as being very in touch with your constituency when you're making
pudding with his
𝕾𝖏.
fingers, though. That's a question.
Well, listen, it's along the same lines. Eating 𝕾𝖏 and eating pudding with your fingers are equal in my book.
Did you guys see the recent press conference with where Fetterman and Biden were together on stage?
Oh,
yes,
God.
and that's what I'm saying. And you got 81 million people who voted for Biden, allegedly. So I don't think that you can do much differently other than ballot harvest to solve this problem. Again, I know it sounds crazy, but I think we want to win.
The Republicans have got to get their urban game on. They need to stop focusing on suburbia. They need to stop focusing on rural areas. They need to actually get in, because there's a lot of people that actually hold the same values as most conservatives living within urban areas. The problem is they're scared to fucking talk to them.
Let me jump on.
Conservative. Yep.
I want to jump on that because I say this all the time, and this is a big thing in Texas politics right now, is that there wasn't really a red wave nationally, but there's been a massive red wave along the border in Texas. And they've had lots of lower level seats swapping. And the reason for that is exactly what he was just saying, which is that there's a lot of groups, mainly the Hispanic Catholics, that are basically aligned all their views with Republicans, except for one, which is immigration. And even then, that's actually kind of switching to the local born versus the immigrants, and then Mexico versus the rest of the country. It's turned into a whole complicated mess down there, but it is turning them into Republican voters, and the Republicans have to figure out, like they did back with the Irish way back in the day, is turn them into honorary Republicans and get them on in there, and that's going to make them set for the future. And I think that's what they're figuring out in South Texas, and to an extent they're figuring it out in Florida.
Okay.
I want to.
He was very solid with the Cubans.
Yeah, before we go too far into the weeds here, I do want to get Allison's and Lactoid's answer to the question, right? So, Allison, midterms.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically already been said, but Dobbs was just perfectly timed for the Democrats to run on that, and it was very, very unpopular politically. And also, Trump backed these crazy fucking candidates because they cater to his ego, and he's literally incapable of putting the party before himself, and he always has been, and he always will be. So,
noted.
Trump's not a Republican; he's a blue dog Democrat.
Lactoid, go ahead.
Everything they just said. Poor candidates, and I also think that people overestimated how much of the country is pro-life. I think a lot of people who designated themselves as pro-life on polls, actually weren't. And we saw that with the major shift to pro-choice that happened immediately following Dobbs in polling. So I just don't think people knew what they were talking about when it came to defining their own political opinions.
Okay.
I actually think that most people are actually pro-life, but they're against accountability.
I agree.
Accountability. Can you elaborate?
Yes, because people don't want to take accountability for not being able to keep their pecker in their damn pants. That's really what it boils down to. People want to be able to fuck whoever and go guilt-free. Okay, no. If you're going to engage in an act that could result in the pregnancy of someone, you need to, guys, man the fuck up, and ladies, you need to woman the fuck up and take responsibility for your actions. It's all about accountability in the end.
Okay. With that, accountability in the end, and that is the end of tonight's show, gang. we are going to give all these lovely individuals an outro to have closing thoughts and to tell people where, if you want more of their takes, where you can find them. But before we do, right, I just want to let you know what I got coming up. So tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern, we'll be back here, same bat time, same bat channel, to talk about affirmative action in colleges. The Supreme Court is set to hear a case and perhaps overturn a case that allowed this to happen, to allow racial preferences in admissions to the college. They're set to overturn it. The expectation is they will. Is this good or is this bad? Like, based or cringe, gang? Erudite's going to come on. Lactoid's going to come on. Portland is burning. We got a whole slew of them. Lucy Hayes will be here. Quite a crew. So tune in and check us out. 6 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Gang, if you like what I do, if you want to support the channel, if you're on YouTube, hit that like button. Really helps out the algorithm. Subscribe if you haven't. Really helps me out. Super chat some closing words if you'd like. I'll read them out. Love to hear them. If you're on Twitch, please consider subbing if you haven't. Gifting some subs. If you already have a sub, that would really help me out. I gotta eat, gang. I need a spoon to go with my pudding, right? Like, I just gotta have it. So really help me out. If you're on Kick, we just got that monetized as well. So throw some subs that way. Fist, thank you. Fist, thank you for the sub. Really appreciate 𝕵𝖎 indeed. And with that, I'm going to let all these individuals have an outro. And we're going to start with 𝕵𝖎. Go ahead.
So it boils down to this. Look, I think Americans do have a problem with accountability. We need to make America great by making Americans accountable for what they do. We need to have someone who is actually being held accountable for all kinds of things that he really didn't do. He's had the government weaponized against him. They're hitting him right now. There's an indictment with the state of New York. There's an indictment with the federal government, and there's a possible upcoming indictment coming through the Georgia. And if you look at the merits of the cases, it's a coin flip. The one in New York, I think Trump is actually going to get convicted of because of it's going to be done in New York City. It's all about the jury. I don't think the federal case is going to stick. I don't really care. I want someone who isn't going to weaponize the government against their political opponents, and that is something that Ron DeSantis is doing on the regular right now. We already have one fascist in office. We don't need to have a second fascist take up the mantle. At least the one currently in is a potato, and he can't even walk straight and or talk. So I mean, I guess Uncle Joe isn't all that dangerous unless you're his 14-year-old daughter and trying to take showers at night. Oh wait, we shouldn't talk about what a pedo he is. Never mind. Look, whoever you want to be your candidate, vet them. Make sure that they hold some of your positions, because no politician is actually principled. They're all fucking liars. But at least with Trump, we know the monster that you will get. DeSantis, we have no clue where he would go, but if we look at his record in the House, we know that he is for more taxes. If we look at what he has done in the state of Florida, we know that he is for weaponizing the government against his political opponents. I think that's bad. I think Trump would do better by destroying our government, by tearing it down, by doing things like Schedule F. And that is why currently I'm supporting Trump, because I want a smaller federal government overall. And if you fire most of the bureaucrats, that's where it's at.
Where can people find you?
You can find me on YouTube, Twitch, and Rumble at Aircraft Sparky. You can find me on Twitter at Aircraft Sparky1.
All right. Go ahead, check them out if you'd like, gang. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate your voice. Gibbs, go ahead.
So I guess in closing thoughts, I just think that I prefer DeSantis for a plethora of reasons. And, I'm going to be honest, I voted Trump the last 2 times in the general, but I voted against him in both the primaries. And a major reason is for, I don't know. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but it something didn't feel good. when I voted for Trump. But whenever the options were, Hillary and then, geriatric Joe, it just you don't really have an option at all. You got to pick one. You got to pick somebody. And we can't write in a third party because third parties are evil. So we got to go and sit here and we got to go with what we got. It was Trump. Now if I have to choose who I can, it's gonna be DeSantis. But come general election time, it'll be Trump. But as far as all these other things and everything, they're all terrible. You can pick the lesser of the evil. That's the secret right there. You can find me on Admiral Gibbs on all my socials.
Gang, check him out. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate your time. Allison, please.
Okay. Yeah. I think DeSantis is just the more competent candidate. There were criticisms of him for being authoritarian earlier. Honestly, I mean, he clearly believes in a strong executive, right? If you're worried about like expanding presidential power, then like it's like a fair concern. But I honestly think that every single presidential candidate in the modern era is going to be for a strong executive. And so it's just like, I mean, I don't know. I think Trump would do it too. I just actually think DeSantis is more capable of wielding that power. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I was reading some excerpts from his book, and when he was talking about getting legislators to do what he wants, I'm like, it's kind of scary. Like, it's a little bit scary, but like, I mean, it's effective. Like, it works. So, yeah, I think he's competent. I think he's mentally stable. I think he's extremely qualified for the job. For DeSantis.
Where can people find you?
You can't.
Stop looking, gang. Stop looking. Wick exclusive. Thank you for being here, Allison. Really appreciate you. Next up, 𝕾𝖍𝖎.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on, Wick. Good conversation. I think I don't think DeSantis is a fascist. I think it's actually a hallmark of the left to call anybody a fascist who just because they're effective or just because they happen to have beliefs that don't align with your preferred political candidate. I think he's the best candidate for the job for a lot of the reasons have already been said. And if you like what I had to say about him, you can find me at 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙 on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Thanks.
Check him out, gang. We'll be seeing him tomorrow. In fact, are you going to continue streaming after this?
Only for about 5 minutes to
we'll
briefly
wait into
chat.
someone else then.
Yeah.
Todd, please.
All right. Thanks for having me first and foremost. But here's my closing. The American way of life is under attack while career politicians destroy our economy and sabotage our nation's incredible potential. But not only are our potential being sabotaged, but the Chinese are here sabotaging our railways too. They're doing a lot of stuff. I'm kidding, being hyperbolic here. I will drop that in the thing. You can find me at Intrigue Live on YouTube, Kick, and what's that other one? Rumble. I don't stream much though. Transitioning, been very busy in life, so haven't been streaming much lately. So thank everybody. Sorry for the autism, but that's what you get. I think I got CTE and autism, so it's like a wicked combination. Anyway, thanks for having me, and check me out if you want. Maybe I'll be back in the future.
Intrigue Live, you said?
Intrigue Live. Okay. Intrigue.live.
Gang, check them out. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and talk to us. I really appreciate your perspective. Thank you. Next up, we have 𝕾𝖍𝖎, please.
I was pretty quiet this time, but I'll make up for it now, Wick. In the interest of integrity, I need to have some words with you, my boy. Got to stand up for the other team on this one. Begging for money for a spoon for your pudding. It's disgraceful. Eating pudding with your fingers is good enough for Ronnie DeSantis, 47th President of the United States. It's good enough for you, my man.
Well, thank you for being here. Where can people find you if they want to find you?
I mean, people can see my Discord. That's about all I've got.
Well, in that case, see you tomorrow, gang. We're gonna raid out. 𝕾𝖍𝖎's not streaming. Are any of you streaming on Twitch right now or no?
I am, but don't know how much longer I'm going to be.
You're gonna
on.
go off too. Okay, we'll go into Ice Beans then. Remember when you get there, gang, spam, right? Spam my emotes if you got them, and let her know that Wick sent you. And it is a hate raid. That is what we're doing right now. So make sure that she knows it. And yeah, with that, I'll bid thee all. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone. Bye.